good evening, Pallavi, and it's really pleasure to have you for my interview on women in architecture. And I'm really thankful to you to agree to discuss with me your life journey so far. And I'm sure it has a long way to go.
Yeah, my pleasure too.
Thank you. This is a research which I am conducting to understand the life of women. So the focus is more on the womanhood and in the profession of architecture and how women have taken so many different roles to even redefine architecture itself. We plan to do a manuscript and a video series to really even hammer the profession itself, that there are equal number of women practitioners and preachers, as well as doing different things, and they are equally an architect as any person who is doing a building. So I have some simple questions, and I would like to seek your permission to do the recording, and at the same time, I will take your permission later to get it published as well. So I hope you are
Yeah,
fine with our recording.
yeah, sure.
Okay, so I will start with very simple question. Now, when you stepped into architecture, so please tell me something about your childhood I mean, early architecture days when you were really inclined to get into architecture. How did it happen in high school that you landed up in architecture?
Okay. So I think I decided to join architecture when I was in some seventh or eighth standard. And I didn't have a lot of clarity about what I'm up to or why I want to join architecture. But somewhere, I am a very intuitive person, and it was a kind of intuition I had, because I was very clear I didn't want to be a doctor. I was very clear I didn't want to be an engineer. I was interested in exploring myself, and I thought architecture would be a better or an appropriate profession to explore myself, my skills or my intuitive abilities or my people related abilities. So that was one thing. And since you also asked me about my childhood, a major part of my childhood I have spent in traveling. So there was a journey from my home to school, because my school was about 15 kilometers from my home. And I have been traveling by public transport from my home to school since I was in fifth standard. And so fifth standard to 10th standard, then my junior college, and then 5 years of architecture. So about I can say 15 plus years I've spent in a daily routine travel. And this travel was my time which I gave to myself, and really thinking and exploring myself. It's just your me time. So, and it used to be challenging at times, it used to be peaceful at times, but I think that was the time when I decided that I want to do something which has an interface with a large amount of people. And even after studying architecture, I didn't choose to be an interior designer or a architect who does homes and private work for private clientele. I always wanted to work for public clientele, so governments or authorities. So that's when I also decided to take up urban design as my specialization. So that's how it was.
That's interesting, because I think you are the first person I am meeting in my life so far who so beautifully told about this journey, through the public realm and space in the trains and meeting people and all.
Yeah,
And that it is such an important part of someone's life, and I'm sure it is also for most of the metro cities now, because even I was raised a little bit in Kolkata. I know how important these trains become. But another important
right.
and interesting part which you also mentioned was that you also had a time for yourself when you were in this even in this
Yes.
public space. So, and you
Yes.
got time
Yes.
to think, which is very interesting to understand, because often we have this impression that, okay, you are in public space, in public, and you are in too much of chaos, I mean, how can you find your solitude? So that's very interesting
Yeah.
to learn. So I assume,
Yeah.
like me, during architecture, you also had this situation where there were equal number of architecture students as girls and boys, and not really much
Yeah.
distinction in the call undergraduate and postgraduate time. But I'm sure
Yeah.
somewhere this must have been hinting you in your mind. I mean, somewhere, I don't know when and how. But were you already feeling about this, starting your career in architecture, how it will happen? What mode of career you are going to choose? So how was it going around during your studies, and how were you thinking you are going to shape your career? Because one thing comes out very clear, that you were getting a clarity that you want to be in that public space, you want to do more publicness kind of work. But
Yes.
then, what
Yes.
about your career? What about your profession? How was it? I had goosebumps, to be honest, in final year, where to go. Most of my seniors were going abroad. That was a trend in the college. And
Yeah.
I was very, very curious how to go about next. How was it in your case?
Yeah. So, as I said, I was very sure and clear I don't want to do work for private clients. So, I never imagined people coming to me asking me to make design their house, or design their office, or design some interiors of their house. I was very clear about that.
But
And even
learning that? Weren't we learning that in school to serve the elites coming
we
with money?
that, in fact, that's exactly what we were learning in school, and that's exactly what I was not very keen to pursue further. I mean, if I was compelled to do that, I would have done that, of course, but I that was not my first choice.
Yeah.
And when I also did my projects in the school, my thrust used to be about designing the outdoors than the indoors. I mean, but of course, everybody has to pass the exams to be an architect, and one has to obviously acquire sufficient skills to do both. But then my choices always used to dwell around what happens outside the building rather than inside the building, or whenever there were opportunities to do things beyond your academic programs, I would choose to do things which are more people related, or where I get to meet and learn from people, interact with people. So those were my choices. So even when we had electives, when we were supposed to choose subjects, I chose urban design, or I chose rural development. Also, I want to let you know that the place where I did my school had a huge impact on my life. And my school is a special school in Pune, and it always taught us about personal social responsibilities. So
Wow.
everybody talks about corporate social responsibilities, but my school, right from the day one, trained me in, or groomed me in, knowing and delivering personal social responsibilities. So I would always look for opportunities where I can have that I can have that exchange where the social aspect can come in, or a larger public interest aspect can come in. And that's when I also, by the time we complete our 5 years of architecture, everyone is thinking what to do next. And I had
Yes.
already decided that I will go in for masters, and that's how I also planned my internship. So I spent 4 months in Delhi in the fourth year when we were supposed to do the internship. So
Hmm.
I spent four months in Professor Shahir's office in Delhi.
Okay.
It was a
Wow.
landscape.
Hmm.
And that's where we also got exposed to different things, a different city altogether. It was a complete different exposure for me when I went to Delhi for 4 months, and then I told myself that no, I need to come back here, because I am still not prepared to really do what I want to do. So I thought that masters would give me that exposure, because I
Yeah.
studied in Pune, and of course the level of exposure in Pune was limited, and I wanted to have a bigger perspective of the profession. So so 1 year I spent in a practice in Pune, which was a architecture, urban design, and conservation based or oriented practice. It was architect Kiran and Anjali Kalamdani with whom I worked for a year in Pune. And again, in their office, my the purpose was same, that I would want to have an exposure outside the office rather than inside the office. And that's how we also established that understanding. And then they allowed me to do certain things, or have me certain exposure to get that perception. And then, of course, 1.5 years I spent in Delhi in School of Planning and Architecture. That was a different journey. And that's when, as you know, your question was when I really decided or started thinking about the career aspect, what to do next. So those were the times when, my heart started clicking what exactly I want to, tap on in future. And after completing my master's, I again had a choice of continuing to stay in Delhi, because again, the world was different there and the world back home in Pune was different. And we all know that once you enter a bigger world, you don't want to go back to the limited world, if you call it limited. And then, since I was a complete no-no to private clientele practice, I had to take up a job. I didn't have enough backup as well to start my own practice. So I was looking for what to do now. I was also not interested in staying in Delhi because it was too far from my parents and my home. So when I came back to Pune after completing my exams, I was thinking what to do, and I thought, let me look at Bombay. Let me see if there's anything I can do in Bombay, because Bombay was close by. I could stay there and come back, and have a closeness to my family as well. And I was applying, that time I didn't know what are multidisciplinary consultancies. So I was applying at architects' offices, or big architects to do bigger projects and their offices and all of that. So I got an opportunity at architect Brinda Somaya's office. So then I thought, okay, let me begin somewhere. I really didn't know how it was going to go, but I thought, let me just begin. And I found her a nice person, and I thought that I can learn from her and her team, of course. So I spent a year in her office. At the same time, again, that 1 year in Bombay gave me a lot of insights and lot of enlightening experiences as well. And that was the time, again, the travel came back in my life.
Yes.
So what I told you earlier was in Pune. Now in Bombay, it's a different set of travel pattern, and it's a different experience altogether. And that again started giving me my me time during the travel. And somewhere towards end of an year, I started realizing that if I'm going to stay in Bombay, I need to do something which benefits this city. Yes. Because I was doing good work in office, but again, that was for a different set of clients and people. But I thought that I'm staying away from my home and I'm staying in city like Bombay. So I need to do something which benefits the city. So that thought started driving my whole thought process. And then I decided to leave after an year because I was not getting to do something which would benefit the city.
Yeah, directly you were not seeing the benefit. You were not seeing the direct impact.
Yes, yes. So after I left that job, a very interesting opportunity came to me. And this was a project initiated by Mumbai Railway Vikas Corporation. It was a World Bank funded project. And it was a study of 12 suburban stations in Bombay. And the study was about station upgradation and station redevelopment.
Wow.
And when I was shown that opportunity, I didn't think twice about it.
Yes, I can imagine that with urban design at the background.
Yes. Yes, I just grabbed it, and those 3 4 years on that project was like like a full I can say it was my life actually, those
You were living
projects
it
and the work
basically.
I was living it. Yeah, I was living it. In fact, those 4 years I didn't think about anything else but just just looking at what best can be done here. And that was a different learning. There are different aspects of that learning as well, but
Of
I think
course.
that gave a direction, and that gave me a perspective of really what I'm looking at, so that
Yeah.
was the beginning, I can. Yeah.
Great, great. But were you already exposed to this idea, you being a woman, or you were still sanitized from that idea? Because in architecture and urban design education, somewhere we really don't get much exposure unless and until something hits us. It's all
Yeah,
equality there because teachers don't make so
i'll
much of distinction.
I'll
But
tell
when
you
you
what.
start working, what
Yes.
happens? Do you realize it? Did you realize it?
I'll tell you what hit me on the day one of my first job in Pune. And I have a huge regard for this practice, but this conversation that happened on the first day really gave me my enlightenment. So Mrs. Kalamdani asked me that, Pallavi, I used to stay like 30 kilometers from the office. And I was very clear, I have to work here. So she asked me, how will you travel every day? So I told her I'm used to traveling. I'll manage. I'll do something. Then she says, yeah, everyone says like that, but then once you start doing it, you will get irritated and you will give up. Because she said, we want you to work at least for an year if you are joining us. And she said, there's one guy who was with us earlier, and he also wants to join us. And we always need good guys in office because there's a lot of running around work. So if you are not going to work for an year, then we would like to have him. So that was the time, I'm telling you, Mansi, that was the day I got to
You
know
were made to
that it's
realize that you are a woman. Or
I
you
am
were
a
a
woman.
girl. You were a
And I
girl that
better.
time.
I'm a girl that time, yeah, a girl that time. And thanks to Anjali ma'am, and I thought a woman is making me realize this is also something I should,
Important, yeah. Of
it's important. And she might have learned it from her experience.
course.
uh, you know.
But it's
So
it's the
again,
mother who
my.
is looking for boy child in the country.
Yes, yes, yes,
It's the same thing.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, so she said, so you think over it and you tell us, you take your time, give us, couple of days, and you let us know. So, I was so, in a way, threatened as well by that whole
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
It was encouraging, it was engaging. I questioned a lot of things. At the same time, I was threatened as well. And I
yeah.
thought that if this is what the future is going to be, I might as well think about it and prepare myself. If I have to be there in the whole game, I have to prepare myself for the game. So that day again, my bus journey, I kept thinking about this, what to do and all of that, because I had to make a commitment. And
Yeah,
now after 20 years down the line, I have seen so many people working, quitting jobs, this and that. But that time, that challenge of making 1 year commitment prepared me to swim in the ocean. I
I can
already had
imagine.
an idea what's going to be there lined up for me for rest of my life. And again, immediately next day, I told ma'am that, I said, ma'am, I'll do whatever it is, but I'll work for 1 year. And then I realized, why do you need boys to do running around? Is basically the sanctioning work, the municipal work,
Licensing and yes,
licensing and all. And we were doing a school project in Pune, and I automatically got into that project. And when I met them first, I one of my concern was that yes, the office was too far. So sir told me it's okay. Sometime you can do our work, which is in Pune also. We have work in the PMC and this and that. So some days you can work in Pune, and then some days you can come to Chinswad. So I said fine, that can work as well. And then I realized that the school sanction process was already about to start. So I did the sanction of that school, right from filing the case in the corporation to getting out of the sanction, getting the sanction
Wow.
out. I
Usually
did that.
women are staying away from all this paperwork, huh?
Yes, yes. And just before I left and I went for my master, we got the sanction. Just before 2 months, we got that sanction. And till in the last phase of getting the sanction, the corporation engineer also asked me, okay, why do you come? Please send your boss next time. I said, no, my boss is not going to come. I'm going to come for this file. So he thought probably next time the boss will come. I came back to office. I told sir, this is what he has asked me, and this is what I've told him. I said, I'm going to come, and you're not going to go there. And I kept going, and then I also learned in the whole process, because it's not only your employer, it's the rest of the world with
Yes,
whom you're
absolutely.
interacting,
So
more
they are
than
not
your,
able to
because
say you on face that send a
yes,
man, don't come as a
yes,
woman. I guess
yes.
because there is also a bit of corruption which is required,
Yes,
which gets very
yes,
difficult with women, huh?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that happens even now, Mansi. It's not that
Uh,
it happened 18 years back. It happens even now, because the projects
yes.
that I did, I don't send anyone to get our bills also. Everything has to be done with interacting with me.
Yes, but
So,
men have difficulty, huh, to negotiate these money
yes,
matters and under the
yes,
table matters with women.
yes,
This is one
yes,
thing which I also personally take pride that they are not
yes,
easy with us, but we
yes,
are also not easy with them to do
yes,
these. I
yes,
mean, I will not say wrongdoings, but these are something informal rules which we are
yeah,
not easy to budge with. It's always the
yeah,
case. Yeah. So
yes,
when
yes.
you started your new life in Mumbai and also shunting between Pune and Mumbai, how was
Yeah.
it to do your work life balance, which is a very common thing which comes out clear in when women
Yes,
are doing lot of a
yes,
Jagdamba type of activities, 10 hands
yes,
activities. You know,
yes, yes.
how was it? I mean, were you already having family by then, or what was your life there in
So,
Mumbai?
Mansi, I'm single. I don't know if you knew that
No, but yes,
before.
but I'm saying that were people living with you in Mumbai or you were by all by yourself?
Yeah, so I stayed with my uncle for
Yeah.
15-20 days. That was in
Oh,
Virar,
that's it.
and my
Not
office,
so you were on your own
and my
then.
office,
Huh.
yeah, my office was at VT. So Virar to VT was like 2 hours journey.
Hmm.
So after 15 days, I decided to shift close by. And I had this girl in office. She said, I'm staying close by in Chinspokli, and it's a Mada building, and there are just two of us. So why don't you shift with us?
Okay.
So I at that time I had no idea what a Mada building is.
Huh.
Honestly, a Bombay Mada building is. So I said, okay, fine. I think makes sense. I'll be close. And when I went to see the house, it was typical Bombay 10 feet by 10 feet room, with a small kitchen platform and a small
Yeah. I
mori and
also
a,
lived like this, huh, in Mumbai initially for few months.
uh,
Hmm. With my
yeah, in a
sister.
Indian
Hmm.
WC. And I'm like, oh wow, this is what she's offering me. And that was the only thing I could offer in the salary I was getting that time,
Hmm.
So I said, fine, if this is Bombay, then might as well, explore it, live it. What
Huh.
else? I mean, I had no other motto, so I shifted with her. And then my travel time reduced, and that also gave me time to explore the city, visit places, just keep walking in the markets, and keep walking on the streets, keep walking in South Bombay after office. and of course whatever time the office expected, spend that time.
Yeah.
That was how it was. And
Yeah. So
I
my question actually to work-life balance means is not only about having family as such, but your me time. But you already have such
Yes.
one nicely crafted this me time notion in you,
Yeah,
and that's quite inspiring
yeah,
because
yeah,
often in my studies and also we also realize from our friends that women have these multitasking things to happen, at home, taking care if there are more people, because you are also commuting to Pune very often to meet your family and be with them. And also, I'm sure now you have also have projects out there to make sure that you are visiting them more often. But it gets
yeah,
very very challenging for women to manage both house when there are more people in the house, and then you have more people in the
yes,
office also, and things like that.
yes,
So, it's good to find that you were really taking good care of family life and work life, as you can say in your case
yeah,
being single. I would like to know,
yeah,
because and now it's been 20 years you are in this profession. With I'm sure you have seen all the ups and downs and things like that.
yeah,
What kind of projects you are engaged in these last few years? Because you had much clarity of what kind of project you would like to do. So, did you
yeah,
manage to find those things? Because Mumbai is also called a dream city. And
yeah.
I'm quite curious with your urban design background and with your clarity of doing things. Have you managed to really find the kind of projects you would like to engage? And what kind of projects are they which you are doing for last many years, I would say?
Yeah. So after the station redevelopment projects, which we did with the railways,
Hmm.
I worked on, so I was working with this Delhi-based company that time, and they had a project in Manipur. It was an urban renewal project for the
Hmm.
core city of Imphal.
Huh.
And it was again a pure urban design project. And I worked on that. After that, I worked in another organization, but as I said, I didn't, find much of my interest, so I left that place. And then my major project was the Mumbai Monorail project.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the first monorail in Mumbai, and they were, this company which hired me. They were putting the team together, and that was my next 5 years. I was engaged in that project as a project manager and as a project control manager, basically. So I had a lot of opportunity to work with engineers in that project, and different, like, variety of engineers. So right from civil engineers to mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, because the project involved all these disciplines to be put
Yes.
together to operate the railway
Yes.
system. And when I did this railway station upgradation projects in the beginning,
Hmm.
it was more of a planning work
Hmm.
that we knew that is not going to go for implementation immediately, at least.
Hmm.
So after doing that, I wanted to work on a project which is getting executed. I mean, that was my thought when
Being
I left
outdoors.
those
Being
or
outdoors.
completed. Yeah, when I completed those assignments, my thought was, okay, now I need to see something which gets executed. And that's exactly when this opportunity on the monorail project came in. And so when I was getting interviewed for this project also, when my boss told me about my scope and responsibility, first question I asked him is, I have two things. I'm not an engineer and I'm not a man. So
So
do you
you
really
asked from
think
your
I'm,
end.
I'm, I asked him, because I said it's
It's
an
like burnt
engineering
hats,
project. I said, do you really want me to be part of this team? So he was a Malaysian person, and he still, is like my mentor. And he told me, what's the problem? So I said, I'm not qualified as an engineer. I don't know how I will interact with engineers because I'm not good with mathematics and numbers and all of that. And so believe me, I was the only girl in the team in the beginning. Later,
Wow.
yes, a few other girls came in, but I was the only technical person in that team. And in fact, it worked for me, or it worked for the team as well, that I was not an engineer and not a
Yes,
guy.
I'm
I
sure.
was
I'm sure.
uh,
Yeah, you need a different perspective also than
yes,
in these kind of
yes, yes,
projects. And but it
yeah,
is very interesting to find that you were actually having the opportunities to work on urban design projects right from the beginning, which you know very
yes,
well is not easy for urban designers in this country.
yes, yes,
Most of the urban
exactly.
designers land up becoming teachers or do
Yes,
planning projects or do simple architecture projects and even interior
yes,
design projects, to be honest, many
yeah,
of them.
yeah,
So to just stretch the question a little bit further, when you work on these kind of public projects, how do you really see these design approach or this business approach really either hinder being a woman or is coming as handy being woman to really look at things very differently or offer something very unique, which you already mentioned that it became a blessing for the project being a woman in a team of all men. Do
yeah,
you really recall any other such situations where you became a game changer also, in this
yeah.
way?
When I was part of this project, I was also looking at the monorail alignment and the changes that happened in the monorail alignment. And that's
The land
where,
use
because
changes,
as
you
urban
mean? The
designers,
land use changes.
not the land use changes, the path of the train.
Yeah,
The
okay.
path of the train, which was conceived in the first place, on which
Hmm.
you do your bidding or your
Yeah,
tendering, that changes in the later stages when the
hmm.
project actually gets
Gets
implemented.
implemented.
So since I had a urban design background, we also have some social sensitization.
Yes.
It was much easier for me to facilitate that process of the changes in the alignment and interact with the authority. So MMRDA was the project implementing authority, and it was much easier for them and me to interact and get those things streamlined on a fast track basis. Whereas if there would have been a engineer led team, it I don't think it would have been so streamlined, or the interactions would have been smooth. So, what happens is, as a woman, you always tend to respect multiple perspectives.
Yes.
And sometimes the arguments or interactions get so heated, when it's between men to men, that
Hmm.
it doesn't lead anywhere. So, if someone is there to balance the heat and to drive the argument to a conclusion, it always works. And also, when there's a woman sitting in the team, even the
The
men,
behavior is different.
yes, yes, yeah. So that worked a lot. And then since I had a good understanding of the city by then, it was much easier and much conclusive.
So you
So I
you
think
already
that
became a
was,
Mumbaikar by then because you were
yeah, by then, yes,
you
absolutely,
live you have lived in different parts of the city. You are dealing
yes,
with public projects and things like that. So my
yeah,
question following this is like, what kind of physical or psychological aspects do you think come in as a package being woman? One thing I must say, because I have been talking to other women in the profession, yeah, that being on your own, I assume that you had more, clarity as well as opportunity. Of course, it comes with lot of difficulties, but to follow your dream, there were
yeah,
not many hindrances as such, which comes
obstacles,
as a personal liability, or lot of women are in that guilt of, I have to take care of this, I have children, and so on and so forth. So I just
Yes.
would like to know some kind of physical and psychological aspects which you even encountered today or in the past, which sometimes made you also realize, and also people around you made you realize that, hey, you are a woman. You are already giving these answers in bits and parts from different incidences, which is very nice. But
Yeah.
importantly, being by yourself and then taking up these challenges public projects where you are most of the time surrounded by men colleagues and even men workers
Yeah.
and men officials, physical and
Yeah.
psychological aspects, because you also have a good habit of talking to yourself, which is also rare. How do
Yeah.
you think you would like to highlight those aspects? See, because this study is also for the younger generation, no? So I mean, it's important that they
Yes.
learn these
Yes.
things from us.
Absolutely. So, see, one very important aspect which I encountered since the first job was, you all said and done, how much ever strong you are, or how much
Yeah.
ever, independent you are, you do need another woman, a friend who is a girl, to communicate at
Yes.
workplace, and it's very
Yes.
important to have them at workplace.
Yes.
So whatever you talk about equality or getting shoulder to shoulder with men, certain things you can't talk with men, or you can't share with men, especially at workplaces. So I did face that since the day one. Now, as a solution to that, you end up sharing and exchanging things with the men colleagues that
Yeah.
you have, and that can also be an opportunity to develop different
Yes.
kind of relation with them,
Yes.
because they are also skeptical how much relation, what kind of relation to build with a woman. They are skeptical, but
And
if
what
you
is the
move
leverage they
forward,
have? Yeah. What is the
yeah.
leverage they have for the professional,
Yes.
compatibility?
Yes.
इससे ये काम
Yes.
करवाएं कि नहीं करवाएं, बोले
Yes.
कि नहीं बोले,
Yes.
ये कर पाएगी कि नहीं
Yes.
पाएगी.
Yes, yes. So in my case, what also happened was a lot of them used to open up very closely. Like they used to talk about their personal lives, or some of them didn't know how to deal with their wives, or encourage their wives to work. But when they would see me working, they would share with me, my. I had one colleague who always shared with me, I want my wife to work, so then you interact with them on a different level altogether, which is besides work. And when you have that kind of interaction, or that kind of transparency in the communication, that also benefits your working relationship, because they get to see the women's side of the whole matter, and they also try to help you or cooperate with you in a different way. So it's up to you how you build those relationships. Or most of my seniors whom I worked with, they always had that regard for me, that and they would respect me specially. I mean, I could sense that they have a special regard for me, being the lone woman in the team. There are 10 guys around you and you're the only one. They do recognize it in a special way, because they have wives, they have daughters, and they also know how difficult it is for their wives or daughters to go stand independently in a group of
Absolutely.
professionals that way. So I could
Absolutely.
always sense that regard and that respect that was offered to me, which does encourage you in the end. So it is mutual. At the same time, at times you also have to indicate to people that they can't take you for granted, because sometimes they try to take you for granted because you are a woman. So I had a habit when we were working in the project offices. I always had a habit that I would stay back till the team is there, because we are working in a team, working as a team on a project. So many times, some people used to think that, okay, she will leave by 6 o'clock, or she will leave by 6:30. if I'm anticipating the whole team is going to work till 9:30, then I used to make sure I am there with them working till that time and contributing, not just hanging around and chilling, but also contributing or offering something else. So at times, I did encounter people who would take me for granted and who would not expect me to offer that kind of
Yeah.
presence in the team.
I can imagine,
So
because this is rare, huh? Because most of the women with families and all, they have
yes,
this as a challenge, that they have to
yes,
leave no matter what. And even if it is
yes,
their office, there has to be a time when they have to say, okay, this is the office time, house time starts now, you know.
yes.
So
But in my case also they would take sometimes take
yes,
it otherwise, that isko kya karna hai ghar jaake, so that's why she is
exactly.
staying back. So that I also could sense that attitude, that anyway she doesn't have anything to do at home, so she's there. So you have
But
to
that's
also
also nice, not nice.
yeah, that's nice. And then you have to convey differently to them that it's not, I'm not here because I have nothing to do at home. I'm here because I understand my duty and I understand
Yes.
my professional responsibility, and that's why I'm here.
But in fact,
So,
men also should
you,
not stay longer. I mean, that's how I
yeah,
see personally.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
you do your work in the office hours seriously, and you go home and spend
Exactly.
time. That's your life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's where
You,
this work life dynamics comes into picture. It's
ab-
not about life
absolutely.
means being with family. It's about being with
Yeah.
yourself for your well-being. So
Yeah.
because we used to have this situation when we were working at SEPT, many of us, and again me being married right from beginning of my masters, that we have to leave at 6:37, because there are a lot of things to be done at home, married or not married. But being woman,
Yeah.
taking care of the house, it becomes a default situation in our culture. So
Yeah.
these men used to hang around for whole night, midnight, and
Yes.
then the employers will often say that there is an advantage to have men because they are present for more number of hours. Then you have to
Yes.
really contest about it, that okay, it's not about
Yeah.
the presence, it's about the end result also. It's about the outcome.
Yes.
How much you have
Ab-
participated. It's not about how many hours you are there, you know. That
See,
also becomes quite.
in the beginning of our careers, we are always threatened by this comparison.
Yes,
And we also try to, we struggle to put in our extra time
emulate
because we
also
think,
them, emulate them also, unfortunately,
yeah,
without knowing it.
yeah, because we think that's the only way we can survive. But
Yes,
then at one point of time, I also realized that I don't want to survive here out of struggle. So I want to establish this balance for myself. And then now, I have 5 girls in my team. And if I don't establish that balance, it will not get established for them also. So it's
absolutely,
very important that you have that, so delivery is important. It's not important how many hours you spend inside the
absolutely.
office. So in last 5 years, I have trained myself in a different path altogether, and I have now I'm establishing that culture, personal culture, at the same time the team culture, not to spend unnecessary
Yes,
slogging hours in the office. We do
yes,
good work, we do qualitative work, but in a time that is given to us, or whatever is the official working time.
it's
So yeah,
important, because if you are relaxed and de-stressed with your personal life, it can be with
yeah,
people, without people, or
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
your hobbies or your well-being,
yeah,
you actually perform better at work rather
yes,
than dragging many hours at work.
absolutely.
So long many years, 20 years is a long time to be in the
Yeah,
profession.
pretty long.
Tell me something about moments. What you already mentioned, few moments which are life changing, but something which you would like to say that these incidences or moments or decisions which you took in life shape you today, what you are today. You know.
Yeah,
Of course, architecture taking decision was itself a big decision, because I really admire that at such a young age you could have the clarity of doing architecture, because in small towns like where I was born and brought up, we had no choice and exposure of architecture.
Right.
But some
Right.
things which will define you as you are today, some moments or
Yeah.
decisions which you took, and you stand by it, of course.
Yeah. So, see what happened also in the beginning, Mansi, is, everyone works for money end of the day. And the challenge for me in the initial years was, although I did the work that I wanted to do, remuneration was always an issue. And, that's also where the organizations end up comparing when it comes to setting up salaries. Generally there is a mindset that a salary scale for a guy would be set up in a different way, and for a girl it would be set up in a different way.
Even in Bollywood and other
Yes,
places.
yes, yeah, yeah. It's everywhere. In corporates, it's the same. In the government, of course, they have their own standards. There are no negotiations there. But so I faced that, and there were many moments in my life when I also thought, should I really live in Bombay or should I just go back? Is it really
Okay.
worth living here, or I should go back? I'm telling you, there were many moments like that, because all said and done, the life in Bombay is not as comfortable and as rosy as it looks. And there are many things, you are used to living a comfortable life. You want to have a nice house, you want to travel comfortably,
Yes.
and what you get, and you have to give up all those comforts and live here. And what you get in hand end of the day is, really you keep asking yourself, is it worth giving up a decent lifestyle and staying here and getting this much money at the end of the month? So I always had that struggle with myself. Should I be here? Should I not be here? Should I be here? Should I not be here? And then I kept I just allowed myself to let go and just keep moving on. And I think today, after 18 years, it was all worth it,
Yeah.
because the work that I do now, or the level at which I'm working, and by level I don't mean position, but the level that I'm contributing is acquired because I went through that cycle of
Yeah.
thought process. And if you call it struggle, then struggle, or if you call it ups and downs, then those were ups and downs. But the way in which I can contribute today and I can empower my say in the matter today is acquired only out of that process.
Yeah,
So
by doing again and
by
again and again.
yeah, yeah. So it was really worth, like I told you about that project in Northeast. So when my company asked me about if I can go there and all, I was always ready to go and work there. And when I went to Northeast, I came to know from other colleagues of mine that a lot of them were refusing to go to Northeast because of the situation there, and because
Hmm.
of the unsafe environment over there, social, political. And when they came to know that I have already gone, some of them got ready to go there, because they thought that, oh, if a girl can go, then
Wow.
let us try it out. And
Nice.
that was like something really surprising for me. You see, that's when you start realizing your own power, because
Yes. But
you
women
don't
are risk
realize it
takers,
yourself.
yeah. Yeah, women are
Yeah,
risk takers.
yeah.
When I'm
And
reading
for
about it, they have the courage to change the path also.
Yes. For me, I thought it wasn't so difficult for me to say yes to that assignment. But when I came to know, oh, was it this way? I mean, was it so difficult for people to say yes to this? I didn't know that. And that's when you realize, okay, you are not among the hundreds. You are someone who is different, who thinks differently, who takes decisions differently,
Yeah,
and that's what you will be valued for.
absolutely. But it's very
So
important that women are willing to, explore. That is also coming out
yeah,
very clear in my study, that
exactly,
because
exactly.
either by choice or actually they
Yeah,
are not left with choice, so they have to explore. They said.
exactly. Yeah,
Both
yeah,
ways.
absolutely,
Both ways, they
absolutely.
are into exploration and they don't
Yeah,
mind trying. You know,
yeah,
even
yeah.
if even if it is about taking risk, or even if it is about
Yes,
failing, or
yes,
just trying hands and see what happens. And I
yeah,
think this notion of women being able to rise up after thinking low, and thinking, Arey, what is going on in life. We all go
yes,
through this phase every now and then, because the
yes,
profession has not been still so kind to women, I will say. But still, if you manage to
yes,
stand by your own values, of course,
yeah,
you can carve out a space for yourself, which
yeah,
you also portray. So you
yeah.
have been in practice all the life, or have you tried hand with other aspects like teaching and research, which I saw in my
So,
study. I'm dividing it into these three aspects of
right,
architectural practice, where profession in
yeah.
the sense of building is one, and research and teaching are the other tools. So are you
Right.
trying hands with other activities, or you are a hardcore practicing on ground with people?
So I am a hardcore practicing person. I have been teaching since 2005. So
Wow,
I
that's quite
started
long
in
time.
Bombay in 2003.
Hmm.
But then after 2 years of working, and my office was at Churchgate that time. So I asked my boss, can I spend a couple of hours at JJ, because I had some people who were they needed some studio persons, and they had approached me. So my boss was quite kind and he allowed me few hours in a week. So I started going there as a visiting faculty, and then since then I have been continuing to go as a visiting faculty. So
Okay.
wherever I go, like in Northeast also I was, and that Guwahati College of Architecture had just started. It was some in the first year or so. So I was connected by somebody to the principal there. So I used to go there to conduct some studios and lectures.
Wow, that's
Just that
nice.
of late last 6 7 years I'm only going in the master's programs. Now I don't go in the bachelor's programs. So nowadays I just limit myself to the master's
Yeah,
programs.
because of your other appointments as well. So you
Yeah,
will have limited
yeah,
time for education, but it's a very good combination if
yes,
you can really spend some time
yes,
in teaching, because then you also
yes,
get to know how the new generation is coming, and also give
yes,
them some kind of
yes,
directions, not only in
yes.
profession, but also to women and all.
Otherwise, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
otherwise as well. And the
yeah,
message is not for women only, it's for everybody. I mean, when we talk about
yes,
women in architecture, because we also have to go to the other gender also in architecture, which still looks
yes,
far. So I come
yes.
towards the end of the
So
conversation with
just before you end it, you asked about research also. So research is a parallel activity. So whatever work I'm doing doesn't get done without a backup research. So that's where research comes into picture. And now, after spending so many years, I have felt I've started to feel the need to formalize my own research. So in form of some papers or some
Yes,
documents.
absolutely. Actually, research
So
is there very much part of doing
yes,
architecture. It's just
everyday
that
life.
now it
Yeah.
is getting recognized
Yes.
as a
Yes.
formal way of
Yes.
doing it. So
Yes.
you can't do any architecture project without research. That's for sure.
Right.
So I
Right.
have a tricky question for you, and also the time is coming towards an end. But I
Yeah.
think we will have to reconnect again if we don't complete,
Yeah.
because two important questions are remaining. So
No problem.
my question to you, and is a tricky one, asking you if we were in a situation where there were more women architects in leading positions and in decision makings, right from authority and in offices and all, do you think cities would look different? And how would
Absolutely.
the cities be? It's a
Absolutely.
favorite sub question for us.
World would be a different place to live in if that happens, Because see, I have seen right from women IAS officers, I have seen the top, the chiefs of different departments in different authorities who are women. I have seen even people in the lower hierarchy in the governments. I have seen women in my own teams or other women working otherwise. The way a woman approaches a subject or a project is much different and holistic than the way the other gender would approach. From the business perspective, the way I would conceive a project is very different from my male counterparts would conceive. And the gap is, or what the difference that I'm talking about is the difference in the human touch to
Yes,
everything.
the human
You know,
aspects of it.
there's always a human concern in every project. May it be an engineering project, may it be a architecture project, may it be any hardcore technical project. There is always a human aspect, and a woman knows what is the human aspect, and a woman can emphasize on the human aspect. See, many times men are scared to emphasize on the human aspect. They That's my observation. They don't want to bring it up very strongly, whereas the
Discuss it
woman can,
also.
yeah, can bring it up with strength and with a lot of it needs courage to bring up certain things across the table. So I think that's where also women make decisions very quickly. They stand by their decisions.
Yes.
They are much transparent, they are much clear, they are much open and approachable as compared to men. I have seen IS officers who can take risks to revisit certain decisions which they think if those decisions are not
They can even,
appropriate.
they can even question their own decisions and
Yes,
rethink,
yes,
not fall prey to their own egos, which often is a
yes,
case in many cases.
yes,
To not
yes,
stand up and apologize, or
yes,
even to say, okay, I think we need
yes,
to rethink, or this is something wrong which we have to take.
yeah,
Rechange,
yeah,
reshape our action plans or things like that.
yeah,
Women are better in that. Definitely I can relate with that. Okay,
yeah,
that brings to my last question, which is very easy, and we have a duty towards it, and the question is for everyone, the younger generation. How do you think the younger generation should be enlightened, and what kind of message would you like to give them to make our profession more woman inclusive? I could have said gender
so
inclusive, but since I started the study with women
yeah,
inclusive, so the
yeah,
message is not only for women, because I restrain to do that. The message is for everybody, younger generation. How can we change,
right,
and what should they do to make it more woman inclusive profession?
yeah. So first of all, I think this discrimination of man and woman happens or is, we are made aware of it since we are kids. And
Yeah,
my message is that be proud of being a woman, be proud of who you are, and find your own pulse. That's my message. My message is don't try to be like someone else. What's very important is to be who you are. You don't have to be like 100 others. You can be your own self, and just embrace your own life, because your journey is your journey. Make it unique
absolutely.
rather than making it like someone else.
Everybody's.
i think I
And
think
that's
that's the message.
that's also the soul of my work, because everybody has had a unique journey. Like today
Yes,
also I came to know a lot of things about you, that you are a thinking person. First of all, that is very inspiring for me. I really wish to see more and more people thinking. No matter what we do, if we are thinking,
yeah,
we will be doing it better, even if it is slower, even if it
yeah,
is lesser, does not matter. But if the thinking component has to be there, and that you
yeah,
enjoy solitude, which is also very important learning for me today.
Yeah.
And I think when you said be who you are is equally applicable to also other genders. It's not about
Yes,
being woman alone.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's important answer, especially when we are all looking at others and deciding what we should be doing. That has to go
Yes.
away. You know, it's
Yes.
the pressure
Exactly.
of who is doing what and how can I do better
Yeah.
than others or
Yeah.
better for myself. That's important.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's a wonderful conversation, and I really thank you again for taking out time for this research. And I really wish you all the best for whatever you are doing. I'm sure we are going to stay in touch forever. And I
Sure.
do wish you all the best for everything, and do take care, good care of yourself. Huh? Difficult times.
Yeah. Thanks, Mansi. And